what train? And number one, do you still train? Do you still get training?
Now that I'm running a truck, it's a little harder because you've got to try to
shut down that revenue.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, if, I'm not going to, so I'm not going to be able to earn as much that day, or, I've got to try to do training at night, which can be, that now you're burning the candle at both ends now.
And taking time away from the family.
Yeah, you are. So again, it goes back to, what can I be doing in the truck while I'm between calls? Can I listen to a podcast? Can I, on my lunch, can I, watch a training video? What are those resources that are available to me that I can utilize efficiently? You always talk about trying to be 100% efficient. It's a great goal. And if you can stack the deck in your favor by, hey, I'm on lunch right now. I'm going to take, 20 minutes to listen to this, or, I got to run from here to Justin. Okay. I'm going to put a podcast in about that. Like when I was when I was studying for my tradesman, we had a job out in Justin, and I had an apprentice with me, and I was like, all right, here's the book, start reading. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, start asking me questions. Just go.
Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. So how and where did you get started in the trades?
I got into the trades out of necessity. I went and got a bachelor's degree. Then I went and got a master's degree because I wanted to coach college football. I had played college football and I wanted to coach college football. So I went and got a master's degree, and then realized very quickly that degree was not going to support a family. So I was doing some odd jobs. I was selling insurance, driving for Uber, and it just I couldn't make enough money. So I went out and got into the line trade. That's where I started. I started in the line trade as an apprentice lineman.
Now explain to everybody what that is, because that's not, I always talk about plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roofing. Everybody knows what that is. Explain to them what being a lineman is. What's a line trade?
You see the guys that climb the poles that, are out during the storms. They're fixing power lines. When your power goes out, those are the guys that go out and fix it. So that's what I was doing. After about 2 years of that, I got let go. And I don't know why. I never got really an answer for that, which was good.
Probably because when you climb the pole, it bent over.
I mean, a little bit of that for sure.
Exactly. You're not a small guy.
No, not at all. So we were at a crossroads in our house because we had a baby, we had a mortgage payment. And so I had just lost my job. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I've been watching this guy on YouTube. You might know him. And I was looking at plumbing. I was looking at electrical. Washington State is where I'm from, doesn't have a lot of HVAC work where I was at. And I just remember watching your videos thinking, okay, this makes sense. Like I can see myself doing that. It makes sense. So I just reached out to our local plumber and was like, hey, are you, here's my background. Here's what I know how to do. Would you take me on as an apprentice? And he was like, absolutely, let's do it. And I just went to work. I started running water, and it was new build, so new construction. So I started running water and, figuring out what, fittings were and how to call them out and how to run loop systems. And so I just started figuring it out as we went. And then about 6 months later, I decided we wanted to move to Texas. My wife encouraged me to reach out to you. Mm-hmm. She was like, we want to make a move. Why don't you talk to that guy that you're always watching on YouTube? I was like, there's no way he's going to hire a guy who with 6 months experience from halfway the other side of the country. There's no way. But we had interacted over email. I reached out to you during a Facebook Live, I think, actually. Got your email, flew down here, did an interview, and then the rest is history. We moved down here and started plumbing for you.
So I remember asking you in an interview, so where all else are you applying? You're like, nowhere. I came down to apply here.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's pretty cool. So tell everybody who you are, what you do. Now, first of all, hold on. How long ago did you start plumbing?
I started plumbing 2.5 years ago.
And we'll talk about where you're at now, but go ahead and tell everybody who you are, where you're at, what you do.
So I'm Kyle Hofmann. I'm a tradesman plumber in Dallas, Texas, and I fix people's problems.
And I love that because that's what plumbers can do to make money. Fix their problem. Don't BS them. Don't. Oh, I'm just a plumber. I just fix toilets. No, you don't fix toilets. You fix somebody's problems.
Mm-hmm.
So such a great way to look at it. What did you think when you walked into plumbing that first day up in Washington State?
I just remember being just kind of overwhelmed because, my journeyman's asking me for a closet flange. And I'm like, why would we need a flange for a closet? Like, you're getting thrown these terminologies that you're like, what was, a 3x3x2 Y or a long sweep 90? You're like, I don't know. They're all look the same. You can't tell the difference between, at that point, you're like, what's a 22 versus a 45, like at a glance. Feeling overwhelmed, but at the same time, it was a great learning environment, coming out of the other trade where it was sink or swim, and, there's not a whole lot of resources for that trade, and for good reason. It's very dangerous work. But with plumbing, I was able to, if I was struggling with something during the day, I could get on YouTube and I could watch your stuff, or I could do research or look for something, and teach myself through it as well, along with, having my journeyman plumber in there helping me learn how this stuff goes.
Have you worked with some good journeymen along the way that have really taught you well?
Yeah. No, that was my biggest takeaway from, where I was at to where I'm at now is they all want you to succeed. We want you to become a plumber, and now that I'm a tradesman and I have apprentices in the truck with me, I tell them, hey, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Ask me anything. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to go figure it out, and then I'll let you know. That's the type of guys I had that I sat in trucks with. They were just honest, and they said, hey, I don't know the answer to that, or let me call a guy who knows the answer to that. Or, hey, hey, here's the code book. You tell me what you think it says. There's much more of teaching involved.
What all did you learn once you came to Texas?
How to talk to customers. I learned how to diagnose problems, how to troubleshoot, how to think through situations. And I just learned how to be confident in a problem. Those were my big takeaways. So there's like a personality thing called the Enneagram. I'm what's called a 6, and 6s are constantly overthinking, and they will get analysis paralysis. We'll try to imagine every single scenario, and if we can just get it perfect, then we can make a decision. What plumbing taught me was to get out of that mode, to shut down all those thoughts and say, okay, whole house stoppage. Take out the 0.1% possibilities. What is it 99% of the time, and start there. Start with the simplest thing. Find the cleanouts, run a camera. Okay, what do we need to do from there? That's what plumbing taught me to do. It taught me to think through the problem efficiently and just tackle it. And then also just be okay with, look, you might be wrong. You might think it's this, and then you might think it's this situation, and you get halfway into thinking it's that and go, okay, it's not that. Now we got to pivot and adjust. And now we've got to try something new, or a different technique, or a different repair, or a different option.
You started out in construction. Now you're in service. For somebody starting out in the trades, where do you think you learned the most? What do you think helped you the most?
New construction is really good intro, because the walls are opened up. Nothing's live. You're running water with no water on. You're running sewer with nothing. You're not worried about leaks because nothing's live. Everything's open.
You better worry about leaks, just in a completely different way.
Yeah. Nothing's live yet. So you get to test it, and you get to see the whole picture. So if it's a great intro to plumbing. Service work, I learned a lot about how to imagine what is going on in that wall, what's going on underneath the slab, because, you don't know, you can't see everything. So you have to troubleshoot and think through the problem and what's the most common situation you're in. I think I learned I'd say I learned more in not new construction, but in service work, because you're dealing with new problems every day, and you might get a similar problem from the day before, but it's a little different. Now you got to think, now you have that experience from the day before that you can draw upon to help you with that one. But now this one is, it's in an attic, or it's, hey, it's on the hot side, or, it's just a little different. So you get to learn and draw from those experiences, which I think makes you at the end of the day a better plumber.
As an apprentice, you excelled quickly. I mean, you learn things rapidly. So it was easy to put you in a position, we do slab leaks and leak detection. It was easy to put you in a position where, look, you can go out and do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to this, you can go to this. How overwhelming is it to know, you've been in plumbing for a year or so, and now you're going out to a house to try to locate a leak and tell them where it is and tell them, hey, it's, $50,000 to fix this.
Right.
How overwhelming is that in the beginning?
It's overwhelming for sure. They expect you to have the answers and to know the answers and to know the most efficient way to do this, because, and you're trying to deflate that bubble. You got a customer who's got a sewer leak under their house and it's causing slab damage, or you've got a, customer whose water bill jumped 3 times in a month, and they're like, how am I supposed to afford that and afford you? So you're trying to deflate that bubble the entire time. System and processes are so important when you're just getting started out. And it's important for you as the newer guy, because it takes all the guesswork out of it. If you have a system in place that says, hey, we start at the meter, okay, then we isolate the yard, then we isolate the double check, or, then we go to if it's not in the yard, we go to the house and we isolate the hot side. Okay, if you start going through your systems and processes, now your bubble deflates, because now you're not trying to, shoot from the hip about where to go next or what to do. It helps build your confidence, because you are learning as you go as well, but it also lets you feel more confident, because hey, I've gone through my 7 steps or my 8 steps, and I know I've eliminated these things, so it has to be this now. And if it's not that, well, that's okay, because now we go to the 9th step.
Each and every step builds more confidence. If you shut off the valve at the valve box going into the house, the meter stops spinning. It's like, okay, it's under the house.
Right.
You know it, because it was spinning. We isolated the house. Now it's not spinning. We know the irrigation system, the yard service, the double check, the hose bib, whatever's tied onto it, none of that is leaking.
Right.
So I love the systems and processes and the way you go through it. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I've known a lot of plumbers that they walk in, oh, there's a wet spot over there. Let's abandon the leak detection equipment we've got. Let's just dig a hole. Well, you know what? The dog came out a while ago and took a leak. That's what the wet spot was. How long does it take to get comfortable, to learn, look, I've got systems and processes that protect me?
It took a while, just because it was building confidence. And I would say I was pretty comfortable to do the things I was able to do within about 3 months, because you're just running those calls and you get them over and over and over again. And you can do those systems and processes almost in your sleep now. And you have that confidence, like, okay, I've done everything, you don't need to go any farther once you find it. If you find it on your 2nd step, I don't need to go any farther.
You bet. Makes it easy.
Yeah. I don't have to think, I don't have to guess, whereas in that first month you might've gone through everything just to be sure.
Unless there's another leak.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that wear me out.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, we dug it up. Yes, there it is. Let's fix it. Turn it on. Wait. Now there's another one.
Right.
Let's start over at step number 1.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to step 3, 4, or 5. It's like, let's start over at step number 1, because we've got to verify it's not in the yard service again. It's not in the double check.
Mm-hmm.
It's not wherever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that'll wear you out.
Yeah. Because it's the mind game of, I had a sewer, I had a stoppage. I had done all my tests. I'm like, okay, it's here. We've figured that out. So it was in a apartment or a condo type of deal. So we're there. I'm like, okay, the customer already had the toilet pulled off. I run the camera. I'm like, well, I can't get past, this is cast iron. I can't get past the bend. So let's go to the roof. It's a flat roof. We get up there, we run the camera. Like, well, there's no blockage. What the heck? We can't get the camera around this 90 either. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like this is the stack. This is the, we've gone through our systems and processes, and it stumped us for probably a good 30 minutes or probably more than that, because so it just stumped us for a while. And then, on the advice of my apprentice, he was like, hey, why don't you just run the, because we turned the water on and it came up, like, let's just run a cable through it again one more time. Because we had ran the big cable through it and we didn't pull anything back. We didn't unstop anything. Ran the little cable, popped it free, everything drained, it was fine. I'm like, why? We ran 100 feet of 7/8 cable. We should have cleared anything out of the way.
You bet.
Why are we still backed up? We went through the vents. I mean, we did everything. And it was like up is down now, until we were like, all right, we just run the hand cable and pop it free.
What was your best training? What is the training that you went out, and I don't necessarily mean plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best training you've had that have just like, wow, this will separate me from everybody else?
I think it's a training you do on your own. You can go to seminars, you can go to, sales call, how to
run the perfect sales call.
How to run a perfect sales call type of thing. But the training you do on your own after that is what I really think has helped separate. Because anybody can go to those Nexstar classes and sit there and nod their head and do that. It's the guys that after the call goes sideways, that sit in the truck and go, okay, what are my systems? What was my process? And where did that break down at? I really enjoyed going to the Nexstar classes. They're great. It's a great foundation because you learn how to interact with customers, and that'll get you the foundation work. But the work you do on your own after the fact to constantly learn about new stuff or learn about new processes.
Best practice groups are huge.
Mm-hmm.
We're building a training center for League Pro here in town. We're going to bury water lines, different depths, different size holes, mostly copper, but some PEX, different size holes. Would a training center like that have been beneficial in the beginning?
Super, super beneficial, because you are in a controlled environment.
If you make a mistake, it's not going to cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. And on top of that, you can then, okay, hey, turn the valve on, turn the valve off. Now you can really hone in on what it is going to sound like when you've got that probe in the ground, or when you've got geophones or on it. You're not having to you're not second guessing. You wouldn't second guess yourself as much, one, and two, you get a practice, and it doesn't, it's not on the customer's dime anymore. You're not feeling the pressure on the customer saying, hey, you've been doing this for 30 minutes. The first hour costs X. I don't want to pay more than X.
Mm-hmm.
You better find it. And
it does happen that way too.
It does. You'll, they're like over your shoulder the whole time looking at you going, why are you you've been in that spot for too long, man, move on. And you're like, I've been in the spot for a reason. So yeah, I definitely would benefit from a training center like that.
What's your favorite job? What's the job that you remember going to that you're like, man, I loved going and doing that job?
I really enjoy doing water filtration. To me, it's such a critical component to plumbing, because we are now removing all the
bad stuff.
We're getting rid of hard water. We're getting rid of chlorine and chloroform, and stuff that's detrimental to not only ourselves, but our plumbing systems. Now that system can last twice as long or longer.
And our families. I mean, we've seen the test where you take 2 cups of water that were pulled right out of the faucet, and you stick your hand in one and they test the other one and show you how much chlorine's in it. Mm-hmm. And your hand's been in here 2 or 3 minutes. Now they test that one and there's no chlorine left in it.
Mm-hmm.
You can either buy a filter, you can be the filter. It's up to you.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
Yeah. We did the filter at our house because of our dog. So we lived in Wiley for a little bit, and then we moved up to Anna. And I've done this a long enough time to know the water qualities, between the different areas. So we moved in and she started like just losing fur, like clumps of it. And I was like, well, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's an allergic reaction, something like that. Well, my wife didn't tell me. She started giving her bottled water. So we started giving the dog bottled water, and all of a sudden their skin came back. The skin went from red to white, fur came back. And I'm like, okay, if this is doing that to my dog, what's it doing to my wife who was pregnant at the time? What's it doing to my 5-year-old? What's it doing to me? So we went and we got the filtration system, and the dog can drink out of the toilet now, and not don't have to bat an eye about it.
You bet. Water filtration, your favorite. What's your worst?
Sewer, under pier and beam sewers, sewer repair or sewer replacement.
Crawling around under those little tight spaces is not a lot of fun.
It's not a lot of room, especially for a bigger guy. I don't mind doing slab repairs under houses that, they dig a 4-foot by 4-foot tunnel for me. It's perfect. I can sit down and do my work, and
me and you could pass each other in the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's beautiful.
And I'm not little either. No. I mean, not as big as you, but I'm not little either.
Right. So, I mean, pier and beam, sewer replacement, that's a real kick in the pants.
I remember crawling around under a pier and beam house when I was younger. I think it was a first journeyman, first year as a journeyman. And I'm crawling around under this house, and I go to climb under this beam, and you could tell somebody had already dug a little gully or hole for me to crawl through. And I crawl in here and I get stuck. And when you get stuck, you start breathing hard, you start swelling up. It's like, okay. And I reached back and I had a screwdriver in my pocket. And I'm literally digging dirt out from under my chest and my stomach with the screwdriver, scraping it out of the way and dig a little more and scrape it out of the way and dig a little more until I could finally move and dig back. Then I dug some more to where I could go through. But yeah, it's a tough feeling to know I'm under a house. I'm stuck. I can't move. I can't breathe. I can't do this.
Yeah.
It's tough. What do you think you learned as an apprentice that made you want to become a good journeyman?
The feeling that I can fix this for you. I know what to do to help you now. I went out and got every endorsement I could because I knew that if I did that, it would make me more valuable to the company I was working for. That would let me go and work on jobs and I could make more money. But also then I could learn, how to interact with customers and how to perfect my own craft. But the thing that I learned the most would be that it's trial and error not to a degree. It's not really so much trial and error. It is just, you got to be confident. You got to be confident that, this is the right solution for this situation for this customer, because they don't know what the right solution is. They think they can get on YouTube or get a handyman, and they can fix it for themselves. And I'm not saying they can't in certain situations, but
good. Cause I've made a lot of videos teaching people to fix their own plumbing.
I know. And, they say that, well, I've watched I've watched Roger, I've watched your boss. And I'm like, right, you could, or you could let me do it for you and you don't have to worry about it anymore. When there's nothing wrong with people doing that stuff either. I just think that the biggest takeaway I got from the apprenticeship was no one's going to do it for you, and no one's going to be there. I mean, you can call people, but no one's going to be there to fix it for you if you make a mistake. And it's just about getting that confidence to handle that next problem. How to be the best. If you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotten. So if you think you figured it out in plumbing, you haven't, because there's a new tool, there's a new material, there's a new technique for how we can do something. So never stop learning.
Yeah, but you're preaching to the choir. The neat thing is, and I talked to this subject about plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs, because in Texas, those are your 3 trades with professional licenses. And most of us, we get in the trade to become a plumber, an electrician, an HVAC technician. And once we get it, and I know this because I did it. Once we get that license, it's like, I'm good. We stop learning. We go be what we are, a plumber, whatever it is. And it took me till I got in the union. So I'd been plumbing 17 years. I got into the union and companies were looking for med gas plumbers, and the union taught med gas. So you could go down, take this training, go to Austin, take the exam, get another endorsement on your license. And I did. And I was like, wow, I still love learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking at all the endorsements. There's water supply protection specialists. There's multi-purpose residential fire protection systems, the RMP, and the master. So before I did anything, luckily, one of my best friends growing up, the one who got me into plumbing, his family was all plumbers. And I went by his shop one day on the way home, just went by to visit. And the oldest brother, the one who taught me the most, looks at me and says, so little brother, you got your master license yet? I'm like, no, why? He says, well, all of us do, just kind of figured you would.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow. So I went and got my master's. Then I had to go get my med gas master's. So I had to take the med gas exam again. But then I did the WSPS and the multi-purpose. And then I got my RMP because I knew one day I'm going to want to open my own company.
Right.
What train? And number one, do you still train? Do you still get training?
Now that I'm running a truck, it's a little harder because you've got to try to
shut down that revenue.
Yeah. And then it's like, well, if, I'm not going to, so I'm not going to be able to earn as much that day, or, I've got to try to do training at night, which can be, that now you're burning the candle at both ends now.
And taking time away from the family.
Yeah, you are. So again, it goes back to, what can I be doing in the truck while I'm between calls? Can I listen to a podcast? Can I, on my lunch, can I, watch a training video? What are those resources that are available to me that I can utilize efficiently? You always talk about trying to be 100% efficient. It's a great goal. And if you can stack the deck in your favor by, hey, I'm on lunch right now, I'm going to take, 20 minutes to listen to this, or, I got to run from here to Justin. Okay. I'm going to put a podcast in about that. Like when I was studying for my tradesman, we had a job out in Justin, and I had an apprentice with me, and I was like, all right, here's the book, start reading. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, start asking me questions, just go. And, that's how you can maximize your time. You got to just look for those little ways to, get that extra 5% in that day to just keep moving forward and keep utilizing the time that you have to the best of your ability.
What haven't you learned that you want to learn more about?
Big construction. How do we get water? How do we have the same water pressure at the bottom floor of a 10-story building as the same as the top? How do we not have, terminal velocity for soil from the top floor down? How does med gas work? How does chilled water work? Hydronics, boilers. I mean, there's so many different things out there that, you can't learn it all, but you can try. You can try to just keep trying to stay in step with what's going on. Is there a new material that's going to make, pipe and water faster or more efficient?
Always.
Yeah. What's the thing that's going to make, repairs quicker for us? What's the next thing that's going to make, plumbing better for not just us, but for our customers? Because in the day, like the old American Standard poster, we protect the health of the nation
every day,
and that's the difference between, a first world country and a third world country is potable drinking water and sewer. That's how do we keep that going? And then how do we get that to those areas? So that way we can bring that group up as well.
Mm-hmm. What is your long-term goal for Kyle?
My long-term goal would be a master plumber. Don't know if I want to open my own shop.
Okay. That's not a big goal, just so you know.
Okay. Got it.
That's not that big a deal. And I don't mean that bad. I know you.
Yeah.
Once you do it, you're going to be like, okay, it was just a test.
Yeah.
You're going to know the plumbing. You probably already know it because of what you studied. Time is going to help you perfect the skills.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, the stuff you've been studying for your tradesman exam is the same stuff for the journeyman exam, is the same stuff for the master exam. They just ask you more questions. You just have to do a little bit more. You got to rough in a 3-story building instead of a 2-story building. And there's different things like that. So the master exam is you aiming low. Don't mean that bad.
I get you.
I know you. Where do you want to be 20 years from now?
I don't have a good answer for that, honestly. I haven't thought that far ahead. I mean, to be truthful with you, because I'm still in the thick of it right now. I've got 2 kids. I got a 5-year-old and a 4-month-old now. I'm just trying to figure out how I can maximize time with them still when we're running as many calls as we run, when we work as much as we work. I would think that from the hip, there's a lot out there that you could be doing in 20 years from now. If I think ultimately I'd like to be out of the truck and training, teaching plumbing. I mean, my wife jokes about this all the time with me. I've got a bachelor's of history and I have a master's in education, but I'm a plumber.
I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I've got 3 pieces of paper that I have in frames, but the only one I really care about is the plumber.
And that's the one.
That's the one. I mean, my wife's like, why are you looking at frames for that? We're not putting that up. I'm like, you're darn right.
Yes, we are.
This is going up. She's like, what about those? I'm like, I don't care about those.
Isn't that funny?
They're great pieces of paper.
You bet.
But I haven't used those. I don't use those every day. But I think ultimately I'd like to be training guys on plumbing, what Texas has done with the education system to allow. I have said this since that got passed. If I could go back right now to being 18 and I could still end up with my wife and my 2 daughters, I would never have gone to college. I would have gone into that plumbing program, and I would have been a tradesman at 18 years old. Because it is absolutely, it's the best trade in my opinion. And I've done a couple of them. I've been around electrical, I've been around framers and carpenters, and what they do is important. Don't get me wrong, but what we do is so much more rewarding at the end of the day. I've had people say, I can live without electricity. I can, not in Texas, you can't live without cooling. But if but
you're going to regret it.
If you're in other parts of the country with a little milder climate, you can open the window and, get a breeze going, but they can't live without water or sewer.
So did you learn anything at college that helped you as a plumber?
I learned how to study for tests.
Okay.
I learned what my system and processes needed to be successful, and how to read through material to read through material, the study material itself, and then read through the questions. What are they asking specifically for on the test, on that question? Like I said, as a classic overthinker, I had to develop skills to all right, I'm looking at one question and one question only, and I'm not looking at the answers yet. What's the question asking me? And then, all right, do I know it? Okay. And then, how do I break down these, multiple choice answers? Which one of these is not like the other. So that one is the right answer, or it's the best answer.
I studied completely different. I marked all the correct answers, and then I read it like a book.
Mm-hmm.
That way I never saw the wrong answer, never thought about the wrong answer. I literally read, the AHJ is the authority having jurisdiction,
right?
Not the authority honoring juxtaposition.
Yeah.
And I never had anything else in my head. And it literally, it got to where I'd start reading the question. I already knew the answer. Already knew it. And it was good. I love doing that. And that's why I teach people to study for it, just because most people aren't as analytical as you are.
And I did that when I was doing my studying for the tradesman. So that same thing, we're driving out to Justin for a whole week. It's an hour plus both ways.
Yeah, read to me.
Yeah, read to me. And he'd be like, the authority having jurisdiction, which fitting, you can't do a santee upside down. He's like, you haven't gotten, I'm like, this is the test for me right now. I'm not messing this up, cause it's a scare. I mean, everybody gets so intimidated by it, and with good reason. I mean, the written is,
but most people don't study as hard as you do either, Kyle.
True.
That's what intimidates them. you are like, look, I'm going to be prepared.
Yeah. Because I don't.
That's the way I was.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not walking in. I remember back the first time I took my exam. Now, there weren't the training courses. We didn't have all the YouTube. We didn't have the study guides that I knew of. And literally, I'd go to Austin, and I always talk to the examiners, hey, how'd I do? How do most people do? How's this? And I remember going up for my master's exam, and one of the instructors came out, and he came out and stood and talked to us for a while. And, he says, how do y'all think you did? How do you do this? How do you do this? And I asked him, so what's the craziest thing you've ever seen? He said, well, two things. He says, number one, some people come down for the exam knowing nothing. They're taking the exam to see what it's like. And I'm like, that's a waste. Mm-hmm. He said, and then there's some people that they think they know what they're doing. So on the master's exam, you've got a 3-story building that's really just a 2x4 thick. Mm-hmm. They've got the floors there, and you got to do the plumbing and show how it would go. And there's a sewer line on the bottom with 2 combos, I think. And there's like 3 different places you could go up. And it's been a while, so I'm sure I've got it wrong. But they start hearing this banging and this noise, and I mean like hammering and cutting, and they finally walk in this room and look, and this guy has literally pulled apart the 2x4 so he could take the pipe apart. He didn't like the combinations where they were. He was repiping that and moving them. And they were like, you're done. You're done. You're out of here.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's similar to with the tradesmen. You've got that house it's a 2-story dollhouse.
The dollhouse. I've got it. I've seen it. I love it.
The guys who don't know, it's about 8 feet by 4 feet. It's like a sheet of plywood size. And, you start with getting your materials ordered and all that. And I was the last one, of course, because I'm over there drawing it out, making sure it's perfect. So I get a little stressed in that moment. But I get to the dollhouse, and once you realize it's just plumbing, and, you got your plans and you're going for it. What I did here, because you're in, cubicles next to each other. People are like, why are you doing? That's not even on your plan. Why? That's not even close. Why you got this going here? Well, that's not what we're asking you to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, whatever I'm thinking I'm screwed up on, I know I'm doing better than that cat and that cat, because,
they're not asking you the same stupid questions.
They're not coming in.
They're walking in saying,
yeah. Why do you got 2 tubs side by side? Wasn't that no, that's the first floor. That's the second floor, bud. Oh, and they're like, you don't even have those highlighted. Why are you putting those in? Uh-huh. Oh, I thought so that made me, that was a confidence
They're not
boost.
Trying to fool you or trick you.
No,
they're trying to get you to plumb a very basic house.
Yeah, they want you to succeed, and I think even one of the guys, he started taking the twist ties as hangers for the under the sewer line underneath the house, and you're like, why are you, hold on, that's what these are for. Like, oh, I didn't even know.
Oh, I thought it was plumber's tape.
Yeah. Oh, so they want you to succeed. I got to go to Austin, which was really cool,
I tell you what, and let's talk about that for a second, because they're taking that away. And not for everybody, but was your written test on a computer or on paper in Austin?
It was on a computer. So I got to choose where it was, when it was.
Here locally.
Yeah.
That way you don't drive to Austin.
Yeah, no. So right? I drove up to community college in Sherman.
Okay.
Because I'm living in Anna, so it was the closest one. And you go in there, you got a little cubicle, you just start, go through the computer prompts, and you just start clicking away and answering your questions. Because I've taken a lot of tests because of college, it wasn't as intimidating. It wasn't, I was used to that environment.
Does it tell you immediately when you're done whether you passed or not?
Yeah. So, you're standing out there, and the guy walks up to you and says, here's your results. And you're like, holy cow, I passed. I did it. Okay, step one's done. Now we got to get to
absolutely.
We got to hammer Austin to when I can come down and do it, or am I going to Waco?
So and there you go. There's a choice.
Yeah.
To me, up until just recently, Waco, I shot a video there when they opened it a year ago. Up until then, everybody had to go to Austin. There was not even a computer test then. You went to Austin. You did your written. You did your dollhouse. You did your shop. You did everything in one day.
That's a long day. Because it was a long day just for the shop and the dollhouse. They give you 7 hours to do the whole thing, and they give you a lunch break. So that was nice.
You bet.
I was not
walk across the street to Wendy's, or did you just go study?
I went to HEB.
There you. I love HEB.
Yeah, that was like
Shout out to HEB.
Yeah,
it's huge. So you're growing. You're doing well. What about plumbers around that you see that don't learn? Would you say they're ripe?
They've already hit their peak in their mind. I mean, I've worked with a couple plumbers who have been, this is the way we've always done it. I'm not changing my ways. And then those are the guys you end up going back on call, you get callbacks on because, what in the heck? Why are we supporting expansion tank,
with a rubber band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we doing it that way? Why are we, you can't have a santee on its back. Why did you do it this way? Luckily I was just an apprentice. I'm learning from their mistakes, but you're just tucking in the back of your mind going, all right, when I'm not ever doing that, or I'm never putting my apprentice in that position, to try to answer a question, to answer for that.
And it's tough. And I mean, I've had plumbers work here before that we'd go back into the invoicing system later and look at pictures. It's like, I can't believe they put that in, or I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they did that. What makes you keep wanting to be the very best every day?
You earn more. And I don't mean that strictly in the sense of financially. You earn the respect of your peers, of your other employees. You earn the respect of the management that you work with, because they know if Kyle goes on a job and that customer calls in about us, because they felt wronged by something, they know, okay, it's Kyle, he didn't do that. He wouldn't do it that way. You earn that you earn their respect, and then you earn the opportunity to know that you've done everything right. And then people know that you do it the right way every time.
Do you wish you'd have picked another trade?
No, absolutely not.
Do you ever wish, that going to college would have paid off and you were in education somewhere, living the dream?
I wish I would have gone. I wish I could have made it in the NFL, honestly.
Absolutely.
I was considered undersized
I know.
Which is shocking. I was considered undersized when I was in college.
Well, not for a running back.
Yeah. No.
Not for a quarterback.
No. Yeah. I was a little undersized for offensive line. So I wish that would have worked out. But like I said, if I could go back to, freshman year high school Kyle, knowing everything I know right now, and I could still end up with my wife and my 2 daughters, I would have gone into plumbing right out the gate, because it's a phenomenal trade. It teaches you about yourself, and it's essential. There's something that I don't think AI can take from us.
Mm-hmm. If you could go back and talk to Kyle, little Kyle, the first day he's walking out of the house to go be a plumber, knowing what you know now, well, what would you tell little Kyle that day? You're there when he walks out the door the first day, he's headed out to hop in his car, truck, whatever, to head to work. And you can stop him and tell him something. What would it be?
Take advantage of every opportunity you're given. Don't shy away from it, because there's nothing that you can break that we can't fix. There is nothing that you can do that we can't undo. So just, go for it. It's all a learning experience right now. You don't have to have all the answers. No one expects you to have all the answers. Get every endorsement you can. Keep learning, constantly learn. This is the best trade.
How easy is it to get up and go be a plumber every single day for you?
There are some days it's really easy. And most days it really is easy to get up and go, because I know what I'm doing. I enjoy what I'm doing. Back when I was in the line trade, I didn't enjoy it. It was a means to an end.
It's a great way to take care of your family.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's long days, and there's that aspect to it. But the cool part is, if something goes wrong at the house, I get to teach my daughter, hey, this is how we fix it. She's actually, she remember her saying something to me one time, Daddy, I think the flappers messed up in the toilet. And I'm like, why do you think that? She's like, well, we were watching that video together and I just feel like it's not flushing right anymore. I'm like, what are you? And lo and behold, it was our rental house and the flapper was old.
That's funny.
I'm like, you're 4. How do you even think like that? I would never have thought of it. I wouldn't even thought to look at
to be your boss one day.
Yeah, 100%. I hope so. I hope she is.
What would you tell anybody wanting to get in the trades right now?
Don't think, just do it. Because at the end of the day, if you don't like electrical, you can try plumbing. If you don't like plumbing, you can try HVAC. I'm confident the statistic is still the same. For every 10 that retire, only 5 get in. We are short across the board. We can't hire enough guys for the amount of work we have. Obviously, you want the right guys too, but because you can hire any plumber to do a job. Doesn't mean they're going to do a good job. But get into the trades, because at the end of the day, you're going to walk away with a life skill, multiple life skills, and something that's essential. And you can take it anywhere. I mean, if you don't, I moved from Washington down here. I knew 6 months worth of plumbing, but that was 6 months more than the other guy. And that was, I was able to get in and be that much farther ahead.
I love it. Well, number one, I'm glad you came. Congratulations. It's good to have you here.